We've got some breaking news out of college football where Alabama quarterback Jalen Milroe has declared for the NFL draft. The Crimson Tide quarterback accounted for 36 total touchdowns this season while throwing 11 interceptions. Milroe is the number 3 quarterback in this year's draft. That is according to our prospect rankings over at CBS Sports.com. And a guy that has a big part in those rankings is our draft analyst, Ryan Wilson. Ryan, always good to see you, my friend. Jalen Milroe declaring for the NFL draft. Should he be doing this, especially with the way that we saw him play in that Alabama game? They lose to Michigan. What is your thoughts on Jalen Milroe declaring for the draft and maybe not going back to school?
Happy New Year's, Jacqueline. And you're reading my mind, and you sound like a fan of the Florida Gators and reminiscing about Anthony Richardson's time in Florida, because that sort of feels like Jalen Milroe in that you feel like there's an opportunity for you to go back to school and get better at the things you need to get better at. I understand why Jalen Milroe is announcing this quarterback's class is wide open. It's going to be Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders in some order in the top 5 picks, almost likely. And then after that, it's anyone's guess what happens. But the issue with Jalen Milroe, and again, Anthony Richardson is sort of a cautionary tale. And Anthony Richardson was a better thrower of the football coming out of Florida, even though he didn't play a lot of football in college. Jalen Milroe is fantastic athletically. We know what he can do with his legs, but his ability to throw the ball has been what has been a huge question mark for NFL teams, especially this season. Part of the concerns were that he didn't grow enough in that Kalen DeBoer offense like perhaps we had hoped he would have. We saw what Michael Penix Jr. did in 2 years with Kalen DeBoer at Washington, and he was the number 8 overall pick and is now starting for the Atlanta Falcons. So I'm of the opinion that Jalen Milroe may have been better served coming back to college. That said, he has a really good chance to be QB3. I wouldn't take him in the first round, but we're 112 days from the actual draft, Jacqueline, and a lot can change. So we'll go through that process together. But right now, he's a day 2 pick for me. But again, he's out. So it's up to him now and NFL teams to decide how big a gamble they want to take on this quarterback who has a chance to be QB3 and perhaps even sneak into the top 32 picks. Yeah,
but the time between now and the draft, Ryan, there's going to be like 500,000 mock drafts that you're going to release. But you talked a lot about Anthony Richardson. And again, I'm so reminiscent. I'm thinking back to those conversations where the skill set is there, but we know the Anthony Richardson experience in the NFL is a roller coaster. It's very up and down. Are there any teams out there that would be willing to take a shot, in your opinion? Because there are some that are kind of in this gray area. You know, we have the Titans, the Browns. What are they going to do at the quarterback position? Are there any teams that immediately come to your mind as a fit in this moment for Jalen Milroe?
No, and I say that not because Jalen Milroe is not an NFL player, but in terms of being a day 1 starter, that's where the disconnect happens. Because Anthony Richardson came in, and we heard GM Chris Ballard of the Colts say this recently. He wishes that Anthony Richardson would have sat his entire first season. He didn't. He got hurt, and that is what it is. But Jalen Milroe athletically is second to none. The issue is, can he come in right away and help a Tennessee team win? No, because that Tennessee team doesn't have a lot. The same with the Browns should they decide to take a quarterback. The same with the Giants. Because when you get drafted that high almost every single time, and it even tended not to be the case for Caleb Williams, it's not a very good team around you. And can you lift those players that need to be lifted? And I don't think Jalen Milroe can do that because it's an incredibly tough task for anyone. Whether it's Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels is apparently the exception. Bo Nix maybe is the exception because he landed in the right spot with the head coach and Sean Payton. And I don't know if I would want to put that on Jalen Milroe, who has a ton of growth to do as a passer, unless you're going to put in a whole bunch of plays where he's just running the ball, and that doesn't benefit anyone because it ends up getting your quarterback injured. So I understand the question, and these are going to be questions that all teams looking for quarterbacks are going to be asking. And I think at the end of the day, what we're going to see is that they're going to say this guy has a ton of talent, but he's incredibly raw. I don't know if it's worth a first-round pick. And again, we can check back on this in 111 days to see if I'm wrong or not. But that's the sense I get when you talk to teams about Jalen Milroe's NFL future, at least in 2025, in what will now be his rookie season.
111 days, but who's counting, Ryan Wilson? And we certainly appreciate it, Ryan, for just joining us here on HQ. We're following that breaking news where Bama QB Jalen Milroe has declared for the NFL draft, and the draft conversation continues with Ryan Wilson and Rick Spielman on their podcast With the First Pick. You can download, follow, and listen wherever you get your pods, or you can watch right now by scanning that QR code on your screen.